that's incredibly important, we think, especially when we're recommending those designers to other companies to use. I guess the development of the in-house or home designer with anyone who has the Adobe Creative Suite is now considered a graphic designer. Anyone with a hammer and some nails is considered a furniture designer, and that's fine if they consider themselves that, but we really want to promote professional designers. And I think pretty much any industry has that point of view. One thing we like to do is we want to work together to enjoy, and this is what we try to do, is for our members to enjoy their working lives. So we want to improve the industry so they enjoy it. We want them to succeed in business, and we also want to advance Australia's reputation as a design nation. Now, because we cast such a wide net, we have a very diverse range and size of members. So we have members who are sole traders, we have members who are students practicing design, and then we have large multinational interior firms and design agencies as well. So it's a very difficult balancing act, catering for all those different needs. Now, before I get further into DIA, I think it's important that you actually have an understanding of who I am and what I do, and why I joined the DIA as a member and also as a council member. So I started a design consultancy initially called Design by Them with my business partner Sarah, and we worked on a diverse range of products, anti-terrorism stuff. Anyone who's called the trains probably seen those, or hopefully hasn't seen, hopefully you've seen, but then have not seen, the clear bins that are there for after 2001, it took a little while to get there. There's a whole story about that, which unfortunately I can't really talk about because of the NDAs that I've signed with anti-terrorism police and rail call. But so we worked on projects like that, to medical products, fashion. We did a lot in the fashion industry. But our end goal was to design furniture. We wanted to create an Australian furniture brand. So this is our kind of line that we want to bring together, represent the talent of Australian designers in a playful collection that's functional and fun. Now, that line pretty much tells you why I thought it was really important to be part of the DIA. If we are going to represent Australian designers, we should really be part of the peak body that's representing Australian design in general. So when we were invited to join the DIA, there were some things that we knew and didn't know about it. The things that we knew about it was that it's a large organisation doing good things, putting out salary surveys and practice notes for designers and design companies. What we did, and organising lots of social events. What we didn't know was all the things that were happening behind the scene, and the major restructuring that the DIA was having, and the major restructuring that our industry was having. And that's one problem that I think a lot of creatives have, is that they typically focus on themselves and their designs, and not the state of the wider industry. So here's some of the stuff we do out of interest. Look, I was struggling to make this presentation visually interesting. And being a designer, I'm like, black and white, text, what? But there you go, just to stimulate a little. And back to Helvetica. So who are our members? You can see there's quite a lot of people who are our members, different industries. So we've got interior, furniture, industrial objects, fashion, jewellery, textiles, you name it, communication, graphics, digital media. The list goes on and on. One of the newest additions to our membership are non-designers. People who are actually interested in design, people who potentially want to use design. And we see that area growing quite a bit for the DIA, because as most of you who have an Apple iPhone or Mac, or who are in this building, design does actually make a huge difference, and companies are starting to realise that, not only in terms of I guess, a product outcome, but designers are moving more and more into service, designing services, and designing experiences as well. So this is an area that's evolving. So what people think we do from the outside, we speak to most designers or non-designers, and they go, what is a DIA? And if they've ever been to a DIA thing or met someone in a DIA, they think we do a lot of this. You know, just mingling, having a cocktail, talking about design, wearing suits, well not suits, wearing suit tops, because that would make us too corporate, so we try not to look like that. And this is, you know, we do this. This is the sexy, kind of the sexy side of design. I like this part of design, it's really nice. Unfortunately, this is only like 5% of design. The rest of it is pretty much like any other business industry. It's Excel, hopefully not Outlook, but lots of other things. And this is what, as members of the DIA, I'll tell you what we actually do now. So what do we actually do? So one of the things that we try and do is equip our members. So we try and provide knowledge and information through professional development and training. We do this in a number of ways. We organise workshops. So it might be a class for our interior designers on the appropriate use of LED lighting. So a new technology comes along, designers have to evolve quite rapidly and adapt to it. Sometimes, especially now with the rapid change of technologies, it's very easy for designers to get left behind. Yeah, we do portfolio reviews for students, so that's something I'm doing next week. And this is, I think, something that I'm very passionate about. It's actually reviewing the portfolios of students before they graduate and apply for jobs. It's amazing the difference, the gap between industry standard and academic university, okay, you're a great student standard. We have a lot of awards, programs, we sponsor training, and we also give practice notes. So with the practice notes, it's things like if you are going to go to an agreement with a company, here are some things to look out for. If you're looking at charging an hourly rate, this is the industry standard. Do not be enticed into doing free pitching. Value your services, do not give them away. And these, as a collective, we try and make sure that all our members abide by these rules so that we don't do this whole race to the bottom thing where everyone's pitching against each other and eroding the marketplace as well. We try and support our members in business as well. So we do this with services such as we give free legal advice. We have some free legal advice available, and we also have some professional insurance. It's quite funny, I was actually just paid my, seems like 50 billion insurances that I have. And it's actually really important for designers because you may stop designing, but your product or building will keep going on. And it's very important for you to understand the repercussions of that as well. So we do, free legal advice, discount insurance, salary surveys, and practice notes again. These are some of the things that we do. We like to connect members, with colleagues, clients, and customers. We have a designer referral service as part of the DIA, so people can actually go onto the DIA website and go, I'm looking for an interior designer, and our members will pop up, and they have some kind of system that they can use to do that, which I'm not 100% doubting, but it seems to work for a few people. So that's pretty interesting and works quite well for some. The other thing that we do is try and connect members with other members. A lot of the work that we do personally is collaborative, and it happens in the industry as well. So collaboration is a big word in design, and what a perfect place to meet other designers from different practices in the design institute. So that's what we try and do. We also throw drinks and parties and all that kind of stuff, the sexy stuff. Accreditation, and again competitions and awards. And the competitions and awards are actually quite important because it allows us to set what we consider a high standard. People look at those winners, and go, okay, that is a benchmark that we need to reach, and I think that keeps competition healthy in the industry. Celebrate members, obviously, is something I just touched on. So we celebrate their successes and promote excellence through awards and exhibitions and obviously parties. It's amazing. It's amazing how much happens at these parties and exhibitions and awards. The hot new designer who's done, the new fit out will potentially get approached by a client because they're the new thing. Years determined as being good a lot of the time. So that's something we definitely like to do and promote. And we also try and inspire designers. And this is through programs that showcase excellence and pattern and ideas. So the way to inspire designers, I think, is to show them what is being done really well and making them try and achieve better. This is really important as well for students, I think. We have a student body, a student council, which is DAS, and the idea is that they start off as student members while they're at uni, get invited to industry events, get connected with the industry, hopefully that'll encourage employment within the industry, but also inspire them so that they can eventually transition to the professional side as well. One of the things that we do, which isn't actually well known, is that we do advocate for designers. So we advocate the professional design sector, governments and industries, such as advocating for IP protection and national design policy. We're currently involved in the review of the National Design Registration Policy, and that's something I've been personally involved in. And it's about reviewing design registrations, protecting the intellectual property of Australian designers and non-international designers as well. We don't think copying someone's work should be limited to being prevented for Australian designers. We think copying other people's work should just be eliminated. I'm sure a lot of you have seen, well, hopefully you haven't, but most of you probably have seen things, shows that promote, I wouldn't name it, but promote renovations, rapid renovations. Take this empty house, make it amazing for $1,000, and then people go out and buy replica furniture and do things like that. And rather buying Australian design furniture, which costs the same. And this is a huge problem in Australia at the moment. It's attracting a lot of attention and discussion. And the thing that people don't realise is that it's having a direct impact not only on the design industry, but in the wider manufacturing industry, in advertising, and it actually trickles down. So it's a discussion that people are very passionate about, and especially being myself, especially being a creator of original design. We also, one of the things that we do is we license other Australian designers. And we've personally had something of ours copied from another designer that was distributed through a large retailer in Australia, and through a bit of legal argy-bargy, we're able to get them to stop after 6 months, but it wasn't actually the legal course that we were taking that probably stopped them. I think it was more the PR, the negative PR. So, relying on PR to do some of that work for you is great, but I would prefer to have a legal course of action at my disposal as well. And we'll talk about this in a little while. So, creative numbers. Now, here are just some rough numbers that I've taken from the Creative Industries Innovation Centre report. Approximately $9 billion to the national economy annually turnover is generated by the creative industries. Over $45 billion contribution to GDP, about $3.2 billion in export, and employs roughly 6.2% of Australians. To put that into perspective, creative professionals now outnumber mining sector employees 3 to 1, and those of agriculture, fishing, and forestry 2 to 1. So you'll see lots of ads about protecting mining jobs. You don't see too many ads saying, please protect that creative who's sketchy in the corner and generating wealth for this country. So one of the things that the design industry does, and the DIA is trying to get better at, is the advocacy and really promoting the value of the creative industries in Australia. Because a lot of people are creative, mainly, but might not be seen as creative because they work in the banking industry, for example. But they're still being creative. So, challenges that we face as an industry. So, intellectual property rights is one that I spoke about briefly. Manufacturing availability, the erosion of Australian manufacturing is one that is a problem. The design, in many ways, relies on the ability to prototype, to test ideas. Without manufacturing available, we lose the ability to test those ideas, even at a small scale before we go mass scale. So that's a bit of an issue. 3D print challenge. Now, some of these are challenges. They can be positive as well. So they can be a positive challenge if they're harnessed correctly. So 3D printing and the distribution of digital design is a big one. So just like digital changed the music industry, there is a lot of discussion around how digital will affect the physical production industry as well. There's a lot of talk that in 20 years' time, people will have rapid prototyping printers and you'll be able to download a design and print an object out, which is exciting, but also looking at the way that the music industry went for a little while, incredibly frightening as well. But I think mainly it's an opportunity. And I think one of the things with 3D printing, I don't see it actually going to a consumer level for quite a long time. Anyone who's actually used a 3D printer, probably have you used it? They're not ready for prime time. I mean, how hard is it to print an A3 laser page now? I think in our office, people were kicking that printer like 20 times a day. We've been printing things for like 30 years or something. So that will change, I think, the distribution models of a lot of companies. So, for example, rather than manufacturing something in Australia, China, and the US, you design it in one place, you set up your printers in different countries, you send the file off, it gets printed there on demand. So this will have a huge impact, I think, on design. It will make a lot more value. Rising competition. So traditional design powerhouses, such as Europe and the US and Japan, are facing rising competition from Australia, which is a good thing, I think. China is a booming design industry. South Korea is one that is actually doing quite well. So, like anything, there will be more competition. And outsourcing of design. Now, in terms of the outsourcing of design, it will mainly be, for example, has anyone used the Adobe Suite? Do you know what deep etching is of a photo? So deep etching is when you take a photo and there's a background and you want to remove that background. You want to put a white background, usually used for web or advertising, things like that. So it used to be the case that you would do that in-house, right? You would sit there and remove the background. And Photoshop and all those programs made it easier. Now, you just go to deepetch.com, just upload your file, you don't know who's doing it, but it comes back, and it's all perfect. So that used to be a role in a creative industry or a graphic firm. So these are the things that are starting to happen. A lot of web designers are facing real challenges with this, as well with the advent of better content management systems. You can build a website now pretty much by logging in, dragging a few images around, resizing. It's not going to replace a good web designer, but it will put pressure because it will lower the price for them. So see that these are some of the challenges. Now, in terms of the campaign, I mean, I'm happy for you to pick whatever campaign you want, to be honest. I mean, there's quite a bit there. I think one of the ones that has always been interesting is how companies utilize and invest in design to improve their businesses, products, and services. So, there are some really great case studies out there, such as Apple. It's a really good case study. But there are some really interesting case studies out there. It's something that we would like to show to our members so they can potentially promote to their clients. Why should they use designers? Well, you should use designers because this, and this. And it's also something that we can then potentially distribute to people as well. So I think that would be an interesting one. But if you want to touch on anything else that we've spoken about, you're more than welcome to. And you can ask me questions as well. I'm only down the road, so although I ran here as I was running late. I thought I was actually presenting a lot earlier. Yeah, so that's the DIA in a nutshell. I thought rather than blabbing on, probably give you guys an opportunity to ask me some questions. Since you're all consumers of design. Yeah.